to the Divestment Disaster!
Now available in paperback and e-readers, A Steam Horror in the Hamptons. The aspiring angel tries to escape a house of horrors in this action-packed, all-new Esteem series adventure. Get your copy of Esteem Horror in the Hamptons in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Better get the coleslaw, y'all, cause we're having us a barbecue. Michigan Wolverines head coach Sherrone Moore was terminated from his job as head coach of the Michigan Wolverines. And soon after being terminated from his position as Michigan Wolverines head coach, Sherrone Moore was arrested and charged with allegedly trying to assault the alleged co-worker who he was accused of having an inappropriate relationship with.
Police in Michigan are investigating an alleged assault, and a prosecutor is reviewing charges against former University of Michigan football coach Sherrone Moore. The university says Moore was fired after an investigation found credible evidence that he was engaged in a, quote, inappropriate relationship with a staff member. Let's bring in CBS News national correspondent Jerika Duncan live for us tonight. Jerika, what do we know about Moore's arrest?
Well, we're learning new details based on some audio that has been released on Broadcastify. And I'm just looking at something we learned recently where one of the 911 operators is saying, according to our victim here, he did put a knife to his throat and ran off. Then it goes on to say he walked out with several knives and that there was a mention about U of M. So this is giving us a little bit more information about what may have allegedly transpired when police arrived at this home where they arrested him. Remember, this came on the same day that he was fired. Officials at the University of Michigan saying that he was fired because he had an inappropriate relationship with a staffer. We've, of course, reached out to Moore, to his family, to see if he had any comment. We have not heard back from him. But as of right now, he is behind bars at a county jail. And we're also learning that he's expected to be arraigned tomorrow. Officials tell us that he has not formally been charged with anything, but that they would release that information after the arraignment, which is expected tomorrow afternoon. So people that I've spoken to, a longtime voice of the Wolverines, Jim Brandsetter, said this is devastating to that program just because there have been a number of scandals. If you've been following the University of Michigan football team over the years, it's a coveted role to be the head coach. In this case, Moore was making, I think, $5.5 million a year.
Wow.
So this is all eyes on Michigan because of what it represents, not just to Ann Arbor, to Michigan University, but the conference as a whole, to college football as a whole. And many that I know who were either have interviewed him before or have been in close proximity to him say they don't understand it, but it is quite the downfall. This is a married man with at least one daughter that we know of, that he's spoken of on his social media page. And a lot of students have expressed being concerned and devastated. The team has a game at the end of the month, the Citrus Bowl, but a lot of folks that we've spoken to throughout the day just trying to gain more information about what exactly happened said they are completely shocked by this news.
Yeah, a lot of legendary coaches and players have come out of the University of Michigan's football program. Jerika, are we getting any idea of when the athletic director and the school found out about the alleged inappropriate relationship with the staff member?
CBS Sports reports that this investigation into him actually started about a month ago. So I think we'll learn more again about that potential criminal piece, that arraignment tomorrow. But as of right now, we know he's still behind bars. We know that the team, I'm sure, is trying to deal with this the best way they have. They still have a big game coming up, as I mentioned, in a couple of weeks. But definitely not something I think a lot of people who are close to this football team or have covered this football team would have expected.
Yeah, certainly not. Jerika Duncan, thank you so much.
Now, according to reports, Sherrone Moore, the head coach of the Michigan Wolverines, who is black, was allegedly terminated from his position as head coach of Michigan University after a white female coworker allegedly brought receipts to school administrators alleging that he had an inappropriate relationship with her. And after this woman brought receipts to the school administrators, they did their own investigation and then eventually told Sherrone Moore that he would be terminated from his $6 million a year position as head coach of the Michigan Wolverines, and that's when Sherrone Moore started to allegedly act erratic and allegedly look to break into the home of this white female and look to again allegedly assault this woman. And she wound up contacting police, and they wound up arresting Sherrone Moore and wound up taking him into custody. Now, the police in Michigan are seeing the erratic behavior of Sherrone Moore as a very disturbing, isolated criminal incident. But when I take a critical examination of the alleged behavior of Sherrone Moore as related to his inappropriate relationship with this white female co-worker, it's a divestment disaster that definitely fits the pattern and profile for workplace simps that I talk about in my book, Stop Simping in the Workplace. And it's clear to me that Sherrone Moore was definitely one of these black male workplace simps who basically, while he was even married to a white woman, basically got mesmerized once more by those crystal blue eyes and that creamy white skin. And after getting mesmerized by those crystal blue eyes and that creamy white skin, he was just sitting there thinking about having him a little white girl on the side, and that basically was the thing that led to his downfall at a $6 million a year job. And because this man couldn't keep his eye on the prize as related to his whole career, basically he was now an unemployed individual because he just didn't understand the open rules as related to dealing with women in the workplace. Now, when it comes down to women in the workplace, every man these days knows that in this Me Too era, a man is supposed to keep his professional distance from women on the job, but that didn't stop Sherrone Moore because he was basically mesmerized by this white woman's crystal blue eyes and her creamy white skin and the fact that she was young and attractive. And as he got mesmerized by those crystal blue eyes and that creamy white skin of that beautiful white woman in his eyes, basically what happened here with Sherrone Moore is he started to disregard the rules of the workplace, which tell you that any woman at your job is off limits, especially in this era of Me Too, where a simple allegation of inappropriate behavior can lead to a man winding up losing his professional reputation, his personal reputation, and in some cases, even his freedom. And any smart man who's on a job knows to keep his professional distance from a woman in order to preserve his intangibles of manhood, like his freedom and his dignity and his self-respect. But sadly, Sherrone Moore didn't understand this and looked to break the boundaries that men establish as related to their jobs and their careers. And what Sherrone Moore did, sadly, as he was getting involved with this side piece, was basically wind up creating a paper trail of evidence that basically led to his own termination from his very good job making $6 million a year as the head coach of the Michigan Wolverines. No, this man basically destroyed his own career because he didn't understand how women operate in today's workplace. And when it comes to a lot of these modern women in the workplace, many of these women, if you do get involved with them, what they will do is go out here and look to maintain a series of records that will create a paper trail that leads right back to you, and then use that to, if they can't get their way, to go out here and say you did something inappropriate. And that's basically what happened here to Sherrone Moore. This white female, basically, as he was going out here having this inappropriate relationship with her, was keeping a whole bunch of records and used those records as receipts, as documents to school administrators when she possibly couldn't get her way. when she possibly couldn't get her way as related to this relationship, as related to some matter. Possibly what this woman wound up doing was taking all of those documents over to the staff at Michigan University, and that basically led to the downfall of this black man, led to his complete downfall. And as it led to his downfall, that's where this black man basically wound up becoming a man in crisis, because this is where he wound up realizing how much he had lost, losing a $6 million a year job, a job he would possibly never be able to get again, because this woman had basically destroyed his reputation, or basically he just destroyed his reputation because he didn't go out here and follow the official rules for dealing with women in the workplace. No, this workplace simp went out here and broke the boundaries of the workplace, and now he had to deal with the consequences of it. And this is what led to him becoming allegedly erratic and getting caught up in his emotions. And as he got caught up in his emotions, he looked to escalate things by allegedly breaking into the home of this white female and looking to allegedly possibly attack this white woman for costing him a $6 million a year job. And again, the only person who really is at fault here is Sherrone Moore. This black man basically, again, cost himself a $6 million a year job because he didn't really understand the unwritten social rules as related to black men in the workplace. Because when it comes to black men in the workplace, if you get involved with a white female, basically they are just going to take her word over yours in any case. And when it comes down to the workplace in general, they're definitely going to take her word over yours. And this is why smart men don't get involved with women at the job, because the company is going to side with the woman because they don't want to deal with a lawsuit, and because they don't want to deal with a lawsuit and basically have to deal with the company, again, having to pay out a huge settlement. Basically, what they'll do is side with the woman and look to terminate the man, to send a message to other men. But smart men understand that you just don't get involved with these women at your job in the first place. You just don't get involved with these women on your job at the first place, because you don't want to wind up, again, being targeted for a case of sexual harassment. You don't want to be targeted for an allegation that could lead to you winding up becoming terminated from a good job. And you don't want to go out here and even say too much to these women. That's what smart men understand. But Sherrone Moore possibly thought, because he was a head coach and he was, again, one of these black guys who had arrived, he thought he would go out here and be able to go out here and get involved with this white woman, because he had already divested from the black community. And as he thought he was going to go on to happily ever after, he thought he was going to get with another white woman on the side. But as he looked to get with this other white woman on the side, she basically went out here and created a disastrous situation that upended his whole life. Possibly because she possibly wanted something and she couldn't get it, and then decided, hey, she was going to pull the destruct button as related to this black man's career, because all a white woman has to do is say a black man did something. And again, didn't need any evidence. But with this woman, she went out here and had alleged evidence, according to Us Magazine. And this was basically the thing that led to Sherrone Moore's whole career falling completely apart, all because he didn't have the critical thinking skills or understanding of how things worked in the workplace. And because he didn't understand how things worked in the modern workplace, he got involved with one of these modern women, thinking he would be able to have a side piece and live happily ever after. But sadly, what happened to him was a blackmail version of a divestment disaster. And this man's whole life, again, blew up and again got even worse as he went out here and went from having a divestment disaster to basically turning into a black male brute stereotype by going out here looking to break into this woman's home and allegedly attack this woman as related to that job loss. Again, not very smart, because now he's gone from being a man who had a $6 million job to a man in crisis. Again, a man in crisis who basically, again, created a paper trail that led to his own destruction. I mean, according to some reports, he even gave this woman a raise, and it still wasn't enough for her. I mean, he was giving her $99,000 a year to be one of his assistants, according to a Fox News report. But that wasn't enough for this woman, and eventually she decided to, again, flip him over. And this is one of the reasons why men are told not to crap where they eat and go date women on their job, especially these modern women, because what these modern women will do if they can't get their way on the job is basically look to flip a dude over. And again, in this Me Too era, all it takes is one woman's allegation to basically upend a man's career and destroy his reputation. And that's sadly what happened here to Sherrone Moore. Sherrone Moore's entire career wound up getting upended and completely destroyed. Again, here was a man who basically worked his way up to becoming the head coach of one of America's prominent football teams, the Michigan Wolverines, and that whole career has basically been torn to shreds, all because this man basically got greedy. He already had one white wife. He was living happily ever after, but he decided to go out here and play for another, and that's basically what led to him having a divestment disaster. Now, if you want to learn how to avoid female predators and other predators on the job, you can pick up my book, Stop Simping in the Workplace, so that you won't wind up in a situation like Sherrone Moore and have your career basically destroyed, all because of the allegations of a woman. And if you want to pick up that book, you can find that book on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find it at other online booksellers like Draft to Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And you can also find Stop Simping in the Workplace, again, at other retailers like Barnes & Noble. And if you want to see me make more videos taking workplace simps to the barbecue, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available for the first time in paperback. Stop Simping in the Workplace. Men, learn what you need to know in order to protect your job from workplace predators with Stop Simping in the Workplace. Available in paperback at online booksellers everywhere. Now available in paperback and e-readers. Esteemed Season of the Witch Girl. The aspiring angel takes on a wicked teenage witch in this action-packed, all-new Esteemed series adventure. Pick up your copy of Esteemed Season of the Witch Girl in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers today. Now available in paperback and e-readers. Isis, Dark Incubus. The goddess next door gets enthralled in a romantic entanglement with an evil incubus in this all-new Isis series adventure. Get your copy of Isis, Dark Incubus in paperback and e-readers today. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.